Hello to everyone. Welcome again to one of the virtual exchanges of the co-host project. This is our fourth exchange. As you have seen today, we are touching the subject of quality assurance and recognition of the learning outcomes. Since it's very important for students that go abroad to know how they can actually gain skills and knowledge and how those skills and knowledge can be recognized. We have, of course, two distinguished lectors. They are part of our consortium. The first is Margarita Angelova from the European Center of Quality from
Hello.
Bulgaria. And the second lecturer will be Sara Barros, who is an EU project manager from the Arts and Skills in Portugal.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. I see interaction in the chat. So before we start with the presentations, we would like you to do a short quiz, right? Right, Margarita? So we can launch the quiz.
Yes. Okay, so everyone can take the quiz. It's a short warm-up exercise for today's session. It focuses on the impact of mobilities and the quality and what we should take into account when we are organizing a mobility. So everyone can take the quiz and see how we perform. When everyone is ready, we will see the results. Do you need some more time or you're ready?
It's good to give one more minute because there are people who entered.
I just entered, okay. So how many answers do we have submitted?
I see 14 people out of 24. Fifteen. 16. Okay, let's give one more minute.
Okay. I hope it's not that difficult. These are some questions out of curiosity.
Okay, so majority answering. Guys, if you have, I don't know, you're finishing it now because okay, pressing and Paul.
Okay, so and how do you see the results for the whole group?
Okay, let me know if you can see now.
No. No, but it's not problem. I can comment on each of the questions. So according to the majority of you, how many people participate in Erasmus mobility projects in the year 2022? What are your guesses? Are we talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions? What do you think?
Millions, I think.
Millions, exactly. We had 1.2 million people who took part in mobility projects in 2022. Then the next question is, which of the following is a key objective of the Erasmus mobility project? And I think here everyone got the right answer, that it is to support the personal and the educational development through international experiences. Then our next question is, what is one of the most common risks faced by students during the Erasmus mobility? I'm sure that all of the suggested answers could be to some extent correct, but usually the biggest challenge are the language barriers, which affect the academic performance and the social integration, because usually students from vocational schools have very strong knowledge and skills on the specific vocation, but not that good knowledge and command of English, for example. They are not acquainted with the terms they study in their national language in English, and that could be a specific barrier. Then our next question is, what is an essential component of the quality management in the Erasmus Mobility Project? And of course, luxury accommodation is a plus, is an extra, but it's not the most important. So ensuring accurate and transparent financial management. This means good value for money is an essential component in the quality management of an Erasmus project. The fifth question was, what should be included in a risk management plan for the Erasmus Mobility Project? And here I also think you didn't have problem that there should be some steps how to respond to emergency cases, like someone breaks a leg, a hand, or loses their has their personal documents stolen, etc. And the last question was, who is primarily responsible for ensuring the quality of the Erasmus Plus Mobility Project? Is it the host organization? Is it the sending organization? Is it the students themselves? And here I think that the correct answer is all of them should take responsibility to ensuring the quality of the mobility project. Okay, now after this introduction to the topic, I hope you enjoyed the quiz. I'm going to share my screen and start our presentation about the quality assurance system in when planning and organizing mobilities. You should see my screen now. Yes? Okay.
Yes, Margarita. Yes.
So basically, the quality assurance system that I'm going to present today was developed in another Erasmus Plus project, which is called Into Quality. And it was a basis project for the ENE, the European Networks for the Enhancement of VET, of which co-host is Continuation. So you see how this became a very good and sustainable project. So before we dive into the indicators for quality of a mobility project, here are some aspects how the Erasmus Plus project program is evolving through the years. First of all, this is the increase of the number of beneficiaries who take part in the Erasmus mobilities each year. Then next is the accessibility for all citizens. Erasmus Plus, especially in the last years, pays special attention to participation of mobility learners with limited opportunities or from disadvantaged groups. Then we need to build stronger links with the rest of the world. So also mobilities with countries outside of the European Union is encouraged. Also the focus on future-oriented areas of study like AI in the application of artificial intelligence in the different professions is encouraged, and the higher quality of mobilities. So what we have developed in this previous project is a quality assurance system. Initially, it was intended for intermediary and hosting organizations. It was on the hosting side. But in the co-host project, we have reworked this framework, this quality system, from the point of perspective of the sending organizations. So in this quality assurance system, we evaluate different areas of the planning, implementation, and follow-up of learning mobilities. So as I said, this quality assurance system could be of benefit both for the intermediary and sending organizations and the hosting organization. What is assessed? Here is the list of all areas for which we explore quality indicators. First is the overall organization of the mobilities, the planning. Then we have the accommodation, where the students or the learners will stay, the catering, the transportation, the work placements, the structured training activities and learning activities, the cultural program, the study visits, and of course, the inclusions of persons with special needs is a separate category, but it covers all of the previous categories, but with a twist on with a focus on the people with disabilities and what needs to be provided for them. So let's go into each of these sections and see what exact indicators or quality categories are explored. So first, the overall organization of mobilities. It is very important to start the process of organizing the mobility with a full sufficient information on all aspects of the mobility, all the aspects that were in the previous slides, like where the students will sleep, how they will be transported if they need to transport, how they, what catering food they will receive from where, also how will the work placement or the structured learning activities be organized, etc., etc. And it is very important that on both sides, on the sending and on the host side, you have one contact person who doesn't change the whole time and participates in this negotiating process. Because in the planning stage, you have some inquiries, some needs, but then during the implementation and the follow-up activities after the mobility, there might arise other inquiries and needs, and you need to have these contact persons on both sides so that there is a smooth and seamless communication. Also, it is very important when you plan the mobility first to have a preliminary budget and know each of the services, how much it will cost, so that you can manage your grant effectively. Then there should be a model contract which should be concluded with between the sending and the host organization. There should be clarity about the mobility program. So if the students are going to be on a work placement, or if they're going to make study visits, or they are going to have some structured learning activities, what will be the cultural program, etc., etc. So all these aspects should be clarified in advance before the mobility. And then the follow-up on all inquiries regarding the mobility aspects should be answered timely by both the sending and the host organization. For example, the host organization may ask you to send them information if any of the students has some allergies to food or need some special accommodation or other requirements, and so that when they are planning their service, they can provide what is necessary in order to answer best the needs of the learners. Then the quality of the staff involved, especially on the receiving side, on the hosting organization, is very important. So there should be an adequate number of human resources. For example, if you have a group of 20 participants, of 20 students between 16 and 21, you need to have at least one staff member assigned for them. Then if you have adult learners, of course, it's easier with, it's easier with them because they are, just a moment, okay, because they are grown-ups. You can have one staff member for 30 participants. Then it's very important to monitor and the risks and the quality, and to be able to handle emergencies. In order to be able to handle these emergencies, you need to have such a plan in advance, which is in a written form, and you know who is the contact person, who is responsible for the around the clock for the emergency support. Also, it's important to have not only on the hosting side, but also on the sending side, a person who is responsible to support from the national country the group. Then we have to have an adequate mobility program. For example, the planned activities should be between 5 and 8 hours for the work placement or the structured learning activities, so that, and should be linked, of course, to the mobility objectives. The information about the mobility program should be provided to participants well in advance before the mobility program, so that they can make necessary preparations, but also participants with special needs should be able to should be taken account when preparing the program, so that their needs can be also met. The monitoring and evaluation of the mobility should be as well as continuous process, but also organized at the end. So there should be kept and maintain a register of complaints. It could be both on the sending side, but also on the hosting side, so that you know what happened, when, and how it was addressed. And one more thing, it's very important to know clearly how you are going to assess the mobility. So for example, you can organize sessions at the end of each day and ask students how did the day went, and what did you like, what did you dislike, what could be improved. Some teachers, I have seen some teachers, for example, organize, because they all have Facebook and WhatsApp groups, etc. So they place a short poll at the end of each day in the group and directly receive this feedback. So there are many different tools and ways to organize this, but you need to know how this procedure will be done. And very important, it's not only important to collect this feedback, but also act upon it. So when you receive some information, act and make while the mobility is still taking place, make corrective or preventive actions. And another part, which I already mentioned, is the importance of having good price and quality ratio, so good value for your money. And in order to make this, first you need to have a budget with all the possible costs foreseen, a preliminary budget. And second, you need to collect offers from different providers, service providers, so that you make sure that you are making the best value for money choice. The second category, as I already mentioned, is the accommodation. This is where the students are going to stay when they are abroad. There are, again, different options for this. It could be the students can stay in a campus, they can stay with host families, or they can be scattered in different apartments around the city. The different hosting organizations have different approach to this, but there are several criteria which are very important to be accomplished accomplished no matter what type of accommodation is organized. First, the accommodations should be in safe locations. This means that they should be in areas where the crime rate is low, where the students can freely and by themselves leave and come back to the accommodation place. The accommodation place should offer the necessary amenities like separate toilets and bathrooms, so for girls, for boys. Also, if it's best if they're individual, of course, but depending on the type of accommodation, these are the basic minimum that should be organized. And also there should be clear division of responsibilities, who is going to take care of the maintenance of the accommodation place, what are the responsibilities of the students, what is the responsibility of the accommodation provider, what is the responsibility of the hosting organization. And also it is very important from the very beginning of the mobility to make to inform the participants in the mobility in what accommodation they will be settled, because I had experience when, for example, students were okay to be 2 per room, but when they had to be 3 or 4, they were not okay. So it's important for the students to know how they will be accommodated in advance, so that you can best respond to their needs. Also, it's important in case of an unexpected problem, like, as I said, it's a real case situation, a student broke his leg. It's important that the accommodation place can be adapted or changed. For example, if the accommodation is only with stairs, there should be changed either to a lower floor or to move him to a place where there is an elevator. And last but not least, when the students go into the accommodation, it's important to there to be a representative of the host or intermediary organization, which to evidence what are the conditions in the accommodation, so that if there is some damage to some furniture or any of the facilities, this is described in a report, and the students are not made to pay for this. The next section is the categories about the catering. As I said, it's very important to use only licensed companies when these are external companies, and when it's in hosting families, the host organization has to develop requirements, what are the minimum requirements about the quality of the food provided, and to make sure that there is a minimum level of food variety and balance ensured in the menus provided to the students. This can be done with a menu, for example, for the whole week, and students may be given their daily allowance, and they to purchase the food that they would like. But it is always better to have this provided by the host organization. Also, it's very important that the sending organization provides information, as I said, about allergies, food intolerance, or any vegetarian or vegan needs, etc., of the participant, so that this can be taken into account when ordering and preparing the catering service. The transportation services, as I said, are both responsibility of the sending and the receiving organization, because sometimes in the city where you live there is no airport, so you need to transport the group from your city to the city with the airport, and vice versa. When the students arrive abroad, they need to be transported from airport to their mobility venue. And in these cases, it's very important that you use only licensed transport companies, because in order to obtain this license, these companies undergo certain checks, and also the vehicles they use are performed certain checks, and it is the drivers they are hiring also have to respond to certain requirements. So this is a way to minimize the risk of occurring any accidents while transporting the group. It is also good, if possible, when you plan the transport, to take into consideration the environmental criteria, like if it's a small group, to try to use, for example, a car instead of a bus, and etc. Then it's very important that the drivers and the transport service operates on a written contract where all the schedules and their responsibilities are described clearly. Then we have the work and the training and the work placement. So it is very important to have a clear match between the skills of the students who are participating in the work placement and the planned work placement. So all the planned working and training placement should be with a good capacity to accommodate the size of the group. For example, if you're expecting 30 students, you cannot allow yourself to fit them into a room with capacity of 20 students. Then the training and the work placement should be designed so as to provide the trainees with the opportunity to gain skills and experience which are applicable for their vocational education, which means that before the mobility, you should make a check of the knowledge and the skills of the students. So what is their initial level and what they need to build upon. So when you ensure such a match between the profile of the participants and the skills and the traineeship program, then you can make sure that this mobility will be effective and successful, because it will bring added value for the learners. In order to make sure that the training program responds to the needs of the learners, you need to have adequate information from the sending organization before the mobility. So it is good to make a preliminary test of skills and the knowledge of the students so that you know on what basis you are stepping. When the students arrive at their work placement, it is very important they to be introduced to the working practices, working rules at this place, also to be briefed about the health and safety issues at the workplace, if there is emergency plan, etc. So to be introduced to the workplace just like any other new employee would be introduced. Then during the training, we need to monitor and assess the progress of the trainees. So as I said, it's a very good practice to have, upon the start of the mobility, to have a short test of the students' knowledge and skills. And after the end of the mobility, to perform similar tests so that you can evaluate what the students have learned and how they have improved their skills and knowledge. It is very important to have this process of evaluation so that you can grant that the certificate that will be issued at the end of the training or the work placement really depicts the achievement of the students during this training. Then we have the structured training activities. So in the previous section, it was work placement when the students are performing their internship in a real working environment, while here we have structured training activities. So the students are going through some practical course, which is again related to the field they are studying. Again, here the suitable premises and the equipment should be provided for the training. Again, the safety of the participants should be explained in the introduction session. The staff that is going to conduct and to lead the training should have the necessary professional qualification and didactic experience to carry out this training. You can verify this, for example, by asking the hosting organization to send you CVs of these trainers or their certificates or some other information that can prove that they have the necessary knowledge and professional experience to lead this training. Also, the language skills of the training staff is very important in order for them to be able to convey their knowledge to the students. The quality of the training program depends very much on the preliminary training needs assessment of the students, but also on the objectives that you have placed for this mobility. So this is all the responsibility of the sending organization. Then we have the training schedule and the technologies to be used to enable effective learning and interactive learning during the training. So these are aspects that can be again arranged with the before the mobility together with between the hosting and the sending organization. As I mentioned already, the monitoring of the training activities should take place during the training, not only at the end, and the certification should reflect what the learners achieved. So in order to do this, you need to have the preliminary check of the knowledge and skills and the afterwards, the post-training check. There should be again a tutor or a mentor who is available for the students all the time so that they can ask questions and receive clarifications whenever necessary during the training period. The professional study visits is another aspect. So these are, as already mentioned, are three different types of mobilities. So you have the work placement where the students practice their profession. You have the structured learning activities where the students specialize into certain learning course. And then you have the professional study visits, which represent visit to some enterprise or workshop where the students can see in practice people doing what they are studying for. So what is important for the study visit program, first, again, to have these needs assessment of the students so that you can manage better their expectations. Then you have to set the objectives of the program so that they build on the ground of the already acquired skills and knowledge of the students. And then at least one employee should, from the host or the intermediary organization, should accompany the students when they go to this study visit in the hosting country. Then you need to include interactive activities. There need to be included interactive activities during the study visit, which means that the students, for example, can try to manage the a robot, producing robot or some other equipment, of course, under the supervision of experts or mentors from the visited companies. The next section is cultural activities. As you know, in addition to improving the students, the learners' knowledge and skills, the purpose of Erasmus Mobilities is also to expand their cultural knowledge about the hosting country. So it's very important to think also about these activities in advance. You can so it's important for the hosting organization to provide staff to accompany students during this cultural program. Also, during this cultural program, adequate measures should be taken into account so that the safety of the students is ensured. The quality of the cultural program again depends on whether it meets the needs and the interest of the learners. So one thing you can do is before you send the students abroad, you can ask them in a short questionnaire, for example, what would you like to see, what is a must-see where you are going to visit, so that you can ask the hosting organization to include these sites in the program. And also the staff who is running the cultural program should have the necessary cultural expertise, but also the necessary language skills in order to manage this cultural program effectively. And the last category that we evaluate is the inclusion of persons with special needs. So as I told you in the beginning, all of these previous categories are evaluated. However, with the perspective of how the barriers to which prevent the participation of people with special needs are removed from the respective category. For example, for accommodation, if the person is with visual impairment or with some physical disability, how they are, what measures are undertaken so that this person can access his accommodation or the training venue or the work placement. And that was all from me. I tried to make it short and concise because the list of indicators is very long. As I said, it's meant as a checklist. And of course, in the reality, when you start to plan your mobility, you will choose only one of these types of activities. It will be work placement, study visits, or structured learning activities. So you won't need to apply all of these indicators. And just before we move on with the next presentation, I would like to share with you one more exercise. It's I'm going to post it here in the chat. Just a moment. Okay. You should see it. So it's I will share my screen again. Yes, do you see the link? So it's a short exercise which to make you think a little bit about the roles, the different roles of the sending organization, of the receiving organization. And okay, am I sharing? Which screen am I sharing? Okay, so this is the exercise. Do you see it? Okay, so basically what you need to do, your task is, you will see different statements and your task is to drag and drop the statement to the respective organization which you think is responsible for this task. Example, so to check the status of the accommodation facilities together with the mobilities participants. As we discussed in the presentation, it is very important when the students go to their accommodation there to be a representative of the host organization. So I leave this here in the host organization. I will give you 2-3 minutes to do this exercise by yourself, and then we are going to see the answers. You can give me a sign in the chat when you are ready. Just write done, 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 so that we know how many people have managed to make the exercise. Okay, Sarah, great. Okay, let's have 1 more minute and we are going to do the exercise together. Okay, let's check the right answers. So we have compared the different price offers to ensure best value for money. This is responsibility, as we said, of the sending organization. To contribute to the preparation of the relevant documents, so the warning agreement, certificate, reports. This is, of course, responsibility of both the sending and the host organization. To effectively implement a written policy on the health and safety of mobility participants. This is the responsibility of the host organization, which accepts the students, to provide information about the purpose of the training placement. So to make this initial need assessment, this is responsibility of the sending organization. To organize a follow-up evaluation of the mobility, again, this is a responsibility of the sending organization. Of course, it can be done in cooperation with the host organization, but usually the sending is making this evaluation. To involve an adequate number of staff relevant for the size of the group, as we discussed, at least 1 representative for every 20 students. To act when the work and learning placement is not meeting the needs of the learner or the employer. Again, this is responsibility of the host organization. The reason for that is because they are with the students in the hosting country, so they are the ones that can act to make things work better for both sides. To ensure at least 1 contact person, this is responsibility of both the hosting and the sending organization, and this will ensure a smooth flow of communication. To answer timely to all requests during the home mobility, this is again responsibility of both the sending and the hosting organization so that the communication flows smoothly. Okay, so this was the exercise. Let's check the answers. Yes. Oh, this is the right solution. Okay, thank you very much for the attention. And now I would like to give the floor to Sarah to present the learning agreement.
Thank you, Margarita. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for such a comprehensive presentation. When dealing with mobility's approach, either acting as hosting organization or sending organization or intermediary organization, we need to make sure that a lot of things are put in place. The planning is made with time. So when the participants and the teachers arrive to the hosting country, everything goes smoothly and everyone has a good experience. All of the things that Margarita presented are we as the project partners can come up with that because they are essential for the mobilities. But we also need tools to support these indicators. What are these supports that I'm going to present you now? They are the learning agreement, of course, that we've been talking about a lot in all of the virtual exchanges. You're seeing my screen, I believe. So it's the learning agreement and the Europass mobility. These are, I would say, these are the two main tools that will help you during the planning of the mobilities, during the implementation, and then with the recognition of the mobilities and the competences and skills that participants acquire with this experience. There are other documents I will show you, but these are the two most important. We will start by the learning agreement. For these past few months, you've been hearing a lot about learning agreements. This is a document, a very complete document that serves to define expected outcomes of the learning mobility, how to achieve them, the tasks, who's the standing organization, who's the hosting organization, the responsibilities and the rights of each side. What are we supposed to do? So this is almost as a contract between the standing organization, the participants, and the hosting organization. And this contract should say, why are we doing this mobility? What are the goals? What are we trying to achieve? And how we're going to achieve it. And this learning agreement is part of a package of documents, let's say like that. So when we are preparing the mobilities, we should prepare also other documents that will ensure quality and clarity for everything we do. As Margarita said, this is one of the most important things when organizing and implementing mobilities. So in general terms, we can say that this package of documents has a grant agreement, that is a financial contract between the standing organization and the participants. So the school or the organization has the funds, and then there's the participant that will receive the funds or parts of the funds. It depends on how we organize the mobility. And we should have a grant agreement specifying how much is the funds, how we're going to pay, how are the logistic and financial aspects of the mobility will be implemented. Then we have the learning agreement, as I was saying, that will define the conditions of the mobility. Then we will have the learning agreement complement. To say learning agreement should be prepared before the mobility. I will show you the documents and I will tell you in a bit. This should be prepared before and ideally signed before the mobility. And then we have the learning agreement complement that should be signed at the end of the mobility. This document will say that everything that was described in the learning agreement was achieved, or it can say that some things that were agreed in the learning agreement add a little changed, and it will specify what those changes were. Then we have the Europass mobility that I will show you as well. That is more of an European document that will recognize the outcomes, the competences that the participants developed during the mobility, and will do it for example, it will be recognized in any European country. I will show you as well. And then we have the participant report. There is obligatory online questionnaire that participants must fill out at the end of the mobility experience. As I said, this is a package of documents. Some of them are obligatory, some of them can be option. I will explain you. But then you can have other documents, school internal documents that you have implemented to recognize competencies or internships or any other goals that you have. So this is the basis, then you can complement with school documents. So it's obligatory to have a learning agreement. Yes. For most of the experiences, yes, it is, because it's part of the Erasmus quality standards. This is a very important part of the mobility experiences. However, there are some activities that we can not have the learning agreement. So those are preparatory visits. That is when a teacher or some staff member of the sending organization goes to the host country to get to know the city, the companies, the accommodation. So for this activity, we don't need the learning agreement. We don't need learning agreements when implementing the activity invited experts. For example, when we want to invite someone from abroad to give a class in our school. And then we don't need when participating in vet skills competitions. Any other activities, we need a learning agreement, either for learners or for teachers doing, for example, a job shadowing. These three are the exception. All the others, you can count on doing the learning agreement. And then I will stop sharing now and we'll share a learning agreement. Let me see. I will share maybe. I will share it like this. It's here. I think it's this one. So this is where I'm going to the beginning. So this is the learning agreement. This is a template. You can have other templates. This is a template recommended by the European Commission. And it needs to have all of these types of information. What type of mobility it is, when it starts, when it ends, the data from the participants. If the participant is a minor, we also need the information from the parents. And the parents, we also need to sign all of this documentation. We need information about the sending organization, the hosting organization, the learning context, why we are doing this mobility experience, the learning outcomes. So what are we expecting to achieve with the learning experience? So this has all to be written down. Then we have the program with the tasks. This is very important. And this is very important to be worked with the hosting organization before the mobility, because we know the students, we know the courses, we can imagine some tasks, but we have to make sure that the hosting organization will be able to provide conditions and a tutor to develop those tasks. So this is a very important document that should be developed before the mobility. So work together. It's a work developed between the sending organization and the hosting organization. We have the activities, then we need the people responsible either from the hosting organization and the sending organization. In case of accompanying persons, they should be here as well. Then we have mentoring and monitoring arrangements. So all of those activities that Margarita mentioned to do with the students, for meetings at the end of the day, contacts through WhatsApp or email or whatever channel you choose to. It should be written down here, as well as how you're going to evaluate the experience, which is here, evaluation of learning outcomes. How will you evaluate the experience, especially the more practical, let's say, for example, if a graphic designer student goes to do an internship abroad, how will you evaluate those skills that he developed or worked on during that experience? How will you recognize the learning outcomes? This is in your school. And how will the student reintegrate the school? We can have students doing an internship at the end of the school, for example, the secondary school. They do the internship and then they finish the course. So it's one way to reintegrate the school. Or they can go abroad, do the internship. When they come back, they continue the classes as usual. So it really depends on the school and what year the student is. Any additional provisions, so any notes that you may have, and the signatures. As you can see here, all of these people must sign the learning agreement before the mobility. The participant's legal guardian, if the participant is a minor, the sending organization, and the hosting organization. And now, the complement. That is this one. Yes. So this one, the learning agreement complement, is the document that is signed at the end of the experience. So everything we said that we're going to do and we're going to achieve during the experience, here we will say it, okay, we did all of that, everything is okay, and everyone signs. Or we will say some things had to be changed. These are the things that changed, and everything went okay, and everyone signs. And that's it for the learning agreement. Now we're going for the Europass, that I will try to do it quickly. This is the complement that I already show you. That is the Europass. What can happen? This is the information that we have in Portugal. Margarita, if it's different in your country, please correct me. So what the national agency says is to recognize the mobility. We can have the learning agreement and the learning agreement complement, and that's enough. Or we can complement the Europass. So if we have the learning agreement complement, we are already okay. And the Europass can be, well, another complement. If we don't have the learning agreement complement, you must have the Europass. So the best way that we say it's to have them all. It's 3. And the Europass is also a tool that many schools use for their internal processes. So it's a very useful tool, and I think it's a very it's documents, but it's a very useful even for later for the students to have their experience and competences recognized. So the Europass mobility is also a document that describes the skills you develop during the experience. It also includes information about the sending organization, the hosting organization, about the participants, the skills, the language, the digital skills. So everything that a student will work with or will work on during the experience should be mentioned here. and this Europass can be signed and can be used when doing an experience with a work placement in a company, an internship. For example, doing continuing studies abroad. For example, this happens a lot in Erasmus in universities. So a student goes abroad for a semester. They also use the Europass mobility or experience as a volunteer in an NGO abroad. So we can use the Europass in these conditions, let's say like this. All right. So how can you get the Europass mobility? As the learning agreement and the learning agreement complement we have the template recommended by the European Commission, but we can also have our own template. The Europass mobility must be requested to the National Europass Center in your country. There are templates that I will show you, but this is something that you must request to this center at least 1 month in advance. So it's also a document that should be in your planning stage of the experience. And I will just quickly show you the Europass. I will show you like this. So as you can see here, you have the information about the participant, the hosting organization here, the host partner, that is the company or the organization that are receiving the participants, here the objective, the duration of the experience, and the activities that are carried out, any skills developed in regards to job-related skills, language, computer, organization. So it's also a very comprehensive document that will not testify, but will recognize everything that the participants accomplish during the mobility. So I hope I hope this was clear. I'm seeing here a question from Ilda. So we should have Ilda is questioning if it's necessary to have the Europass mobility before arranging the exchange. Ideally, yes. It should be so the learning agreement and the Europass are documents that will describe what the participants are going to be doing, and it should be organized between the sending organization and the hosting organization, and ideally would be signed before the mobility, or at least be ready before the mobility and the first days of the experience be signed by everybody. As Arts and Skills, we are intermediary organizations, so we have a lot of different experience. So we have already schools that can prepare everything before the mobilities, or they do it during the implementation. So ideally it's before, but as soon as possible is the best. I know that we have more questions here. I don't think we obtained Europass in Western Balkans. No, as we mentioned in the first or second, I am not sure, virtual exchange, the Western Balkans can participate in KA2 projects. And usually for those type of activities, we don't need the Europass, but we do need the learning agreement. It's the one that will recognize everything. Usually the learning agreement is developed by the sending organization, and the hosting the Europass should be requested to the center But I believe there is some centers related to Erasmus in Western Balkans that for sure will help with this kind of questions. I don't know if anyone has other question. We already passed a bit the time, but if we have questions, we are happy to help.
You can also take the floor if you want. We have.
Yes, of course. Thank you. So if there isn't any question, thank you all. And I hope this was clear. And if you have any question or any doubt, please feel free to send us your questions. Thank you.
Also, I would like to ask participants to evaluate the exchange today. I have shared the link to the evaluation form in the chat. Thank you.
If anyone wants to open their camera now, so we can take maybe a picture. Okay, that's it then. Okay, one more. Does anyone else wants to open their camera? If not, I'm taking the picture now. Perfect, thank you very much. All right, so thank you very much again for attending this virtual exchange. I don't know if our speakers want to add anything else. If not, we can close now the meeting.
Yeah, thank you everyone for participating and see you next month. Bye.
Yes, see you. Bye.